All right. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Again, they do these randomly whenever the spirit or the mood motivates me, so to speak. I've been thinking about doing this for a couple of days because I want to make sure I have a plan in place before I actually just dive off the deep end and try to do this. So again, I'm just going to make sure that I've got it on my phone here, and I'm watching it go. All right. So what I want to work on tonight is this issue. And actually, I've distilled it down into this, so it's a little bit easier to digest. Yes, thank you very much. Okay. So this is in Rocks, and again, if you don't know what Rocks is a framework I've written to let you do mocking in .NET, and it uses source generators to do it. Side note, I've been looking to see if anybody else has done something similar. And I might do, I don't know where it's at. Hold on, is it here? Yeah. There's some other things on this list, nothing bad. I want to focus on this. So this is some that I found, and I think Mockup is the one that actually is, like, the others haven't been updated in 3 or 4 years. That one is actually getting some more recent-ish updates. And I want to see what they're doing too, and the other ones too, to see what they're doing underneath the scenes, just to see if there's something I can pick up from it. Some of these are too old and won't have like the incremental generator stuff in them, so I might just skip that stuff. But yeah, Rocks isn't the only one, that's for sure. So anyway, let's get this back up here so I can have my notes in play if I need them. So this is actually the only bug that I am aware of that is in Rocks. Not to say there aren't any, but this is the only one that I'm aware of that's in the 9.0 release. And I want to get a 9.0 release out, an alpha soon. I would really like to get static abstract members in, but it's end of October. .NET 9 is going to be released mid-November. I don't need to line up with that release, but I kind of wanted to, so that feature may be deferred again. But that would be the next feature to work on, main feature. So in any event, this is a bug. And the bug is because it does something weird. This is actually in a framework called R3. And again, it's a little more complicated, but what I distilled it down to is where the problem is. So there's a base class that has a property that's virtual. And then there is a class that derives from that, but then says new T value. This really messes up C# and inheritance. Like, for example, let me just grab this and kind of show you. Let me zoom back out here. And if I go into C# here and I just say, well, Visual Studio, and I do, no, not the Onion article that I show. I was gonna show my parents, not my parents, my family. The Onion's an awesome online site. Okay. Yeah, declare types and names. So we don't care about that. What we care about is when we say something like public sealed class mock of T, which derives from bindable reactor property of T, because that's what our mock would do. Okay. And then I say here, generate overrides. You'll see that I'm going to check these off, and you'll see that it says, well, value is something that you can override. Great, I picked that, but now it's like not marked virtual abstract or override. Even Visual Studio doesn't get this quote unquote right. So, and I tried this in SharpLab, same thing. The problem that Visual Studio has and what I'm doing is I see this property. And I do have logic in there, and you'll see in just a moment that I do try to find members that are hiding other members. That's what this is called, is hiding in C#. But as far as I know, there's nothing in the compiler to say this member is hiding this member on this type. So what I've done is, for example, in property discovery, is I ran into a case before where I said, well, if the property is static and I can see it, and I run into a case where the properties, okay, and the properties I've currently discovered that I match a name. The containing type is not the same containing type as a hierarchy property. And our parameters equal because remember there's indexers, so we can have that too. And so I put this check in there to say, well, if they're the same length, if the parameters are equal, and this is actually something else I'm going to change because I should actually be using symbol symbol default equality or something. There's a class that you can use to do symbol comparison on, and that's really what I should be using here, but I'll change it later. So that's a way to attempt to say, is a deriving class having the same property name and has the same number of parameters, and they has the same number of parameters, and all those parameters are the same type. Because if that's true, then it means that we have a hiding case, and then what we need to do is remove the one that we found before. And that's what would get us away from this problem that you're seeing here. Because it thinks that this one is the one that we should be grabbing from reactive property. That's probably the same thing I'm doing, and that's not correct. What actually should happen is the only things you can override are get hash code equals and toString. You can't even do a override of value because this is not virtual. If I said this, now if I say override, or if I say generate overrides, now you're going to see there are two here, okay? And if I say okay, well, one of these isn't correct. But now it's correct because this one's virtual. But I think I have in my logic here that once I pick up that property, then I remove it. But here's the thing, I'm going to want to include it again because of this case that I just showed here. This one is now valid because this hiding thing is a valid virtual member to override. So there's a couple things at play here, and what I want to fix is first in the properties is to say, where did I just have this here? And this only happens with classes, by the way, as far as I can tell. That's all I'm going to deal with. So in the classes example, I first want to say if it can be seen. Then we're going to move on and do this and remove that property if it's being hidden. Then we're going to move on and say if it's not static and get rid of the qualifier here. So that's the first thing I want to do, is change up the logic in here. And here, where are my notes? Because I have to do this kind of change logic in get properties for class. And I'm going to turn on some music in a second to have that going on in the background. So Sharky, hey, how you doing? So change the logic and get for properties for class to remove if we detect a hiding. And the hiding can be a static or a non-static member. That doesn't matter. Next, we want to say yeah, I'm kind of wondering if I can just say here then, see if we find something, if we can be seen. And if we can be seen, then we would just basically come into here. Okay. Yeah, so that's the first one. Second one is I want to change our parameters equal. So we're using, and now I got to look up the right type here. This is like symbol default. Yeah, symbol equality comparator. That's the thing we want. Equality comparison. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing in, because we're not actually doing this in method discovery here for on a class. We don't have a thing for our parameters equal, but we should be doing the same thing because methods can hide one another. So I also need to have a test here. Mockable method discovery. And make sure we have a test. So in all three of these steps, I'm going to want to make sure that I run all my tests, all integration tests, the code generation tests. This one, once I do it, should fix, there's 2 remaining errors, and those should be fixed once I do this. These are just kind of cleaning up and also extending, so we do it in methods. And as I've learned with rocks and building these mock types on the fly, it can get, there's so many little squirrely things that can go on. So I do want to make this rather, piecemeal, as we say. So with that, let's just get into some coding. Let's get some music going on in the background. And let's get at it. All right. So the first thing I want to do here is say, if we can be seen by the containing assembly, okay, we're going to do this regardless. And now what I want to do is take that off. And then I think do that. So now that I did that, I got to take a look at this. Because we have a property remove here. My computer's buzzing again. I thought I got rid of that buzzing. I took my computer apart and just kind of cleaned it a little bit, but there's obviously something still that's causing some vibration buzzing going on in it. So it could be a dirty fan or something like that for all I know. We're kind of doing this twice. We don't have to say well, we already know it can be seen. We wouldn't have come in here otherwise. See, this is what I mean, that this crap gets really squirrely in a hurry. We definitely want to do this this hiding check right here. And now we want to say, well, if you're not static, we've already done this though. We would not have come in here though if you weren't seeable. So maybe let's back this up a little bit. Hold on. So I think we need to do this, but do it as a separate if check. Okay, now we say here if the property is not static, now we have to do it again. I think though, let's do this. Let's grab this up here and do this first. So we only do it once. So now we're going to say this. If we can't see it, and now we don't have to do it again. There, that's a little better. Okay. Now I'm kind of wondering too here, why would we want to do this query twice? I get why we're doing it here, but I don't think we need to do this here anymore. because we've already checked if you're hiding it. Because we actually go up the hierarchy. That's the way we do this, I believe. So we go to the top, and then we start going down. And you can only do single inheritance. I know there's interfaces and stuff like that, but this is just classes. We're just looking at the types, and we're saying, okay, hey, go to the top one, and then we're going to go to the next one and say, okay, now we want to make sure we track this. If we can see it, now if it's abstract or it's override or it's virtual and it's not sealed, which would be weird, but you can, I think, technically do that, then we would want to add it. And actually, we could make an adjustment here if that's true. In interfaces, we don't care about, at least right now. So let me give this a whirl and see what happens. If I come to this test, and of course, what I just did is going to change all the generated code I did. So let's run this and see what we get. And we're going to get some failures, but that's expected because we need to get this generated code back in here so we can see what it does. Grab that. Now I'm just kind of curious by looking at this. I want to see what it's thinking it can do here. And we only have 3 handlers. That's a good sign. That means that we're just doing equals, get hash code, and toString. We did not pick up the value one in that case. That's good. At least I think that's good. Okay, so then let's grab for the make here. And we'll stick that code here. That's... No. It's not what I meant to do. There we go. Okay, now what does this do? Okay, it passes. Now the problem here is I could run my tests, but I may have inadvertently changed the code that's generating, although I don't think it will. Let's just, we might get a couple errors by doing this, but we'll see what, if I only get 1 or 2 or just a handful, that might be okay. What I really want to do though is run the integration tests and the code generation tests. That's more important. If there's just some deltas of things being off, that's okay. But let's just see how bad this gets. Yeah, this is really tricky stuff. Oh, they all pass. Huh, that's interesting. Let's run the code generation tests and see what that does. No, not that. That. I had to switch my keyboard so I wasn't actually using volume or whatever. So this is going to take a second or two. And by a second or two, I mean about 1.5 minutes to go through all these types and see what generates. Hopefully what this might do is actually... stop. Yeah, just hit it, and then that will help. It was working so good for a while, and then I think I just need to bring this in, or I'm sure it's, I think when I opened it up and I kind of stuck, and then I ran it and I kind of just stuck my ear close to it to go, where is this coming from? It sounded like it was sort of coming from a fan, which is not all that unusual. So I might just need to get a fan cleaned or, something like that. It's amazing looking at like modern desktops and computers and looking at what's inside of it and just like, wow, there was like 5 fans in there, maybe even 6 or 7. It's just like, The amount that has to go in for those fans for to keep these things cool is just like unreal. The hope, because all I had before I did this was that there were 2 errors related to this problem. Now, if this suddenly explodes to hundreds, that means I didn't solve it. I actually made it worse. And that's why this stuff is so tricky to get this so it works for all cases. Any framework has it's actually one of those that caused one of these problems in the first place. It did like a static new on a property, I think, and that's what made me kind of work the way I did first. But we'll see how many errors I'm getting by doing this. It takes a little time for it to go through all of it that needs to do. So also, random fact, something I've been working on at work that I've been doing for the past 2 or 3 months, we finally pushed it into production today. So that's still making me feel a little like, when is it going to break? When's something going to go wrong? Because it always does. You know, but it's been fun working on what I've been working on. I do enjoy it. So a lot of integrations, lots of a lot of automation for things, and it's kind of cool to get something to work with this stuff. All right, we're getting close. What did we screw up? Nothing. Wow. That's actually surprising. That's astounding if you really want my, it's like, wow, holy crap. I did not expect that. So we could take that out and we can change this. Can we see if it can be smart? No, not the merge without or if. Yeah, exactly. Do that. Right. Yep. Because it was all going to be one if. I just wanted to see if Visual Studio had a way to handle that, and it does with the refactoring. So this is actually a little bit smaller now. Not a lot smaller, but smaller. Okay. So let me do the build clean, shut down, start up again, because I want to make sure that my actual integration test will also pass as well. Okay, so let's try to run all tests this time. And hopefully this works. Keep running. This week is actually busy for me too. I'm going to see. Good, they all pass. Wow. So let's do this. 336. Fixed the property case. Nice. I like that. Okay, so this is butter. That's done. And that's, so if these other two don't work the way I want them to, that's okay. This actually fixes the bug. And actually, before I forget, I've technically fixed the bug. So let's say properties that hide other properties are handled correctly. I say that a lot, but, and then this is issue 336. Okay, so this is fixed. That's good. Because then this allows me that maybe even tonight or tomorrow, I might do a release of this. Because that was the only bug I think I had left in Rocks that I knew of. And I might change this to members that hide other members if I can get the other stuff to work. Okay, so the next thing I want to do here is I want to say, if not symbol equality compare default equals, and we want to say property 1 type and property 2 type. Yeah. That's all I want to change here. So if I do this, let's just shut down and start up again, because I'm going to want to run everything. All right, let's run all tests. Let's see what breaks, if anything. I do like that if this all works. I mean, this is... yeah, we'll just add it again. And it took away something that we were potentially doing twice, although it was rare that we did that. But nice. I like it's a little bit more compact now. So yeah, this week is busy. I'm actually going to see Iron Maiden tomorrow night and Queensryche on Friday. So cool. That all ran. That's awesome. Let's run this. So yeah, I guess I've never seen Iron Maiden at all in my entire life. And I've always been wanting to see them just once, but I never got around to it. So finally they're touring, and I think it's good because, you know, unfortunately the drummer, he did have a stroke last year, but I guess he's been working his ass off with rehabilitation to try to get back up, maybe not to where he completely was, but to a level that he can perform. And I've heard last year he was still struggling a little bit, but this year he seems like he's been doing better, which is good. But that's also showing their age. I mean, they're just nobody's getting younger. And he, along with the rest of the band, you know, how many more times can they keep touring and still perform at the level? I've seen live concert footage, you know, of the tour from a couple days ago, and they still sound good. So I'm like, we'll see what happens tomorrow night. I've seen Queensryche now, I think like 4 or 5 times live. Never with Jeff, always with Todd as the singer. But you know, I'm hoping that this show Friday is going to be a decent one. Like, there's one that I saw them at in a club here in Western Twin Cities. The first time I saw them there, it was standing seating, you know what I mean? And I love that because you could be like literally next to the band and see them. The next time they had like all these tables set up. It felt like you were at a wedding reception. It's like, why are you doing this? You know? So I like it when you can just stand in front of the stage and you can have that closeness to the band. That's a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Dream Theater started their tour yesterday in London, and I've never seen them live either, and I really love Dream Theater. But unfortunately, I looked at their schedule, and so far they're not planning next year and coming to Minnesota. So I'm kind of like, crap. Really would like to see them. The singer, I don't know what to make of him. It's so hit and miss with his vocals live, and God, I feel bad for him. It's like if he could, he doesn't have to sing the same notes, but he just seems to even be a little pitchy at times, and it's like, it's like you have to basically go to the show in spite of him. And I don't mean to say like anything bad about him as a person. It's just, it just doesn't sound like the rest of the band sounded really, really good with all the live footage I've seen coming out of yesterday or the day before. They sound really just like the Dream Theater of old again. And I'm like, this is cool. But I don't know what to make of James. It's just not there. So I still want to see them live at least once. All right, we're getting close, and this succeeds. All right, so that's fine too. So we can keep that change here. So the last one I want to do now is kind of what I was hinting at before with the methods. So let's put in a test here to say something similar to this. And we'll do that just for now. And then we'll grab, it's going to be make. I want to do the same thing with methods as well. So we'll say var that is equal to that. Okay. All right, cool. All right, but now what I want to do is something like this, except we don't want to have properties here. I want to say something like virtual get value. And what this does is just default of t, which you don't like. Why don't you like? Then we'll just do that. I don't care about the default value. No. That's... it's got to be a method, not a property. Okay. Now in this case, what I want to do is something like this. Except I want to say new t get value. Now that's... Shut up. Thank you. All right, now if I make the public sealed class mock of t, which derives from bindable reactive property t, and now I say generate all the overrides. We do see retrieve value, but we shouldn't. Okay. If I made this virtual, that's okay. Except it doesn't like this. Oh. There, that's okay. The squiggles, by the way, are just because it's saying you should put this all in the namespace, and I don't care for just demonstrating. So let's get this out, and then let's do that, because that's the problem, except in method form. Okay. When new method is introduced. Okay, so we're going to take all this and we're going to do that. So it's still a bindable reactive property, except this should fail because we don't have the check here in this code. And holy crap, trying to figure out how I'm going to do it here might be a little interesting. This isn't the case for a class. Okay. Non-mockable members. Okay, we are obviously using that somewhere. Okay. Well, I see that I want to do this check here, but I'm not actually checking all the, What's this match? Oh. Huh. So I already have a way to match two methods to say how do they match. And what I'm doing here is saying where it doesn't equal none, because the other two that I have here are, yeah, exact or differ by return type only. And they're not in the same. So this is a hiding case, but we don't care about the static case. So let's first run this and see if we're going to get the error that we think we should be getting. And again, this is just like extra frosting on the cake if we can get this to work, because it's technically a bug, but it's not one I found anywhere yet. So I'm kind of like, I should solve it because I know it's technically a bug, but it's also laziness. And then let's run this again and get this code. Put that into here. And run that. And now we should get an error. Or we pass. Which, not gonna lie, I don't mind. Yeah, we were already excluding that. Did I already have a test for this? Okay, I've got an abstract class here, this and then this. None of these do a new one though. That's the one I didn't have a test around, but it seems to work. The thing is, just run tests now, because I didn't change anything. So it's like, it's okay if nothing should fail because I literally didn't change anything. I just added a test. But this is the only spot that we're trying to remove something. Except I think we probably can also replace this or remove this as well. I think. I think, therefore I think. Okay, let's get rid of that. So this all passes, that's good. But I think I can be a little bit better, like what I'm doing here. Let's put this up here. And then we'll say, we're not going to just say if you're static. We're just going to say if can be seen. Okay. And then we don't have to do that here. We still want to make that check here. But then I don't believe we need to do... I don't believe we need to do this. Not sure, because this looks a little bit more complicated. Because in this case, we're saying, if you could see it, we've already done this up here, except we would have been looking through the ones we already have that we found in the previous hierarchy. This would just be trying to see if we match because we might just override. But that doesn't make any sense because I'm also saying here, remove it. But then we're also saying here, if we didn't find it, or we did find it, and it's not, but we did that up here. I'm kind of thinking what we really want to do is just that and take all that away. I think. I don't think we screw anything else up by doing that. Let's first run the tests here. And let's see if we mess anything up that I didn't anticipate. And actually I might have. I just realized I didn't do the if right. Hold on. This is, if it borks, that would not surprise me. Because I don't want to do an if or an else if there. Yeah, 91 fail. I don't know if that's related, but we were doing if, and then we have to do an if there. We don't want to do that. We just want to remove it, now go through our logic. Because we were just saying here, if it can't be seen, then all we're doing is this, which is completely wrong. So let's run this now and see. I wonder if I can combine these ifs, if that's true. Or we just broke another 91 test and I don't realize it. They all pass now. Let's shut down, start up again, and run everything. I kind of want to get this now. I want to get this to, excuse me, to work. So let's see if all integration tests run. That actually generates the code and tries to run tests against it. The other tests just, okay, so that built, that's good. This is actually something that has bothered me for a while, is the way I discover these things. It has always felt messy. And that's kind of where I'm like, I want this to work, because it feels like this will be a slight improvement on what I have done. Okay, they all pass. Let's run code generation tests. And let's see if we break anything there. So again, this will take about another couple minutes to run, but we got to be this thorough. And actually, I've made this point many times when I've done my coding videos or done streaming or whatever. You have to have tests. You absolutely must have tests around your code. I don't know how you can write anything of even a simplistic complexity without having tests. Otherwise, how are you ever going to be able to change it? There's no way you can make this kind of change and just hope that I did it right. You got to run it against test cases to make sure that it still works as you expect it to. So but if this all works, then I can do one more minor code refactoring cleanup there, and then I can change this to saying members that have members now handled correctly, and that will be awesome. Because and I've cleaned up all known errors. And I made my code slightly better. The thing that we just released at work today, we also have a decent amount of tests around, and that is, in my mind, caught a lot of things. Or it also just sometimes makes you have to reason more about what your code is doing and go, could this actually happen? Is this a case that we could run into? And start going, maybe we've missed something. You know, that whole eating your own dog food or you know, working with the code that you wrote is a good forcing factor to get you to try to use something from the consumption side rather than the creation side. And that's good. I think that does make you think in a different way too. Getting through the R's, getting through the S's. Twilio. And I'd love to be able to push a... Cool. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Let's see. No, we don't want to invert the if. No, I don't want to invert the if. Oh, okay, yeah, I can't do that because I need to say it's this if, and if that's true, then I do an if or an else. So I can't actually change it. Okay, that was my mistake. But still, this to me is much better. It's like, what the hell did he just do? But basically, I just changed rocks so that I think now it's handling hiding members correctly for both properties and methods and indexers, because those are properties. At least it's doing it better. I'm not saying it's doing it perfect, but it's doing it better. And the fact that we didn't break any of our existing tests or integration tests, and we got rid of the two that were failing there, that's a good feeling. I like that. So, you can say commit here and say confirm did a minor update for method discovery as well. All right, I will merge that in, and I will not do a release tonight, but I'll probably do a release tomorrow morning so I can actually get this 9.0 release there. What's on the docket? So this one's gone. This one I kind of wanted to do, but it's low-hanging fruit, and I don't have to do it for 9.0. I might just push it into 9.1. So this is basically an idea where you can specify basically what the type is going to be, the expectation type. If you don't like the naming convention that Rocks does, you can do what's kind of akin to what the regular expression source generator stuff does. So you'll be able to, and I have to have a different attribute name here. I can't use rock again because if it's at the assembly level, I want it to be multiple. If it's at the type level, I only want one, and you can't do that with a single attribute. So I'm going to call this rock partial. And that's kind of a hint of saying I'm going to generate the mocking stuff on a partial type. Okay. So you'll segregate the service, you'll give the type creation, but then what it's going to do is use that name, and since it's a partial type, it will create a partial type in that namespace. The rest of it is all going to be the same, other than the name of this is going to have to be used instead of the name I generate from rocks. But then you can call for this service what that expectation class can be. It can be whatever name you want it to be. That's all up. You're taking on the responsibility of that now. And so there's some things I want to do with this, create the attribute. I might want to put some analyzers around this if I can, which is to say, if you put this attribute in a type, I should probably say it's got to be... Huh. I didn't think of that. Well, could it be a struct? It can't be an interface, but it might be possible to do it as a struct if you so desire. Like the default from rocks is to say we always just do a sealed class. But for whatever reason, you may want to call that expectation as a struct. Yeah, because all we usually do is say new expectations, and we don't pass anything into the constructor on the expectations. Huh. The actual mock type underneath, that's the nested type, that has to be whatever a class, or it has to be a class. That's not the point here. But this could be a struct. But basically, I need to create some analyzers to make sure that if you put this attribute on a type, it's got to be partial. It can't be static. It must be a class or maybe a struct, but definitely not an interface. And then the target type generic, it has to match the generic parameters of the type you're trying to mock. So in this case, if iService had a T here, then this needs a T, so that you just make sure that they match your expectations. And then you can define whatever other methods you want on this expectations class. I don't know what you'd want to put on it, but you could put stuff on it and maybe do some more extensions either. So I added this to 9.0, but I think I'm just gonna move it to 9.1 because I don't think I have quote unquote time to do it. I might be able to do it if I do a release next week and see if I can get this to be done, because that would be, I really like this to be in there. I kind of like the flexibility that it gives you to do that. So, but in any event, this is going to be done as soon as I merge it. So I think for tonight I am done. So if you're watching, thank you. Please subscribe. I would highly appreciate it. I'm trying to get my subscriber count up to 1,000, that first goal. So if you subscribe, that definitely helps. These random coding streams are literally the name. They're random. They're whenever I feel the spirit to move. I am going to do some more gaming streams now that I'm back home, at least for a little while. I have to go to Orlando for a week in mid-November, but then that's it. So I want to get to the second Tomb Raider game, but I'm going to play a game in between. You'll see what that is in a moment. It's a quick game, but I want to do that one. But I also do some gaming streams, like doing that. And I also want to start building up the free code session content again. But there's only so many hours in a day. But I'm glad this is fixed. So I'm going to stop for now. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.